right. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Hamish Conway here, along with me, Justin Cataldo and Sebastian Hargraves. So we will just wait a little bit here. We've got probably about 30 people today expected. So maybe if you're not coming there, but hey there, Billy and Arthur, Dan, g'day Dan, Frank, Christine, John, Kay, Malcolm, Marie, Paul, Pete, hey Pete, Scott. So good stuff. So as you come on, just while we're waiting on a few other people come in, we've got quite a bit to get through today. It's actually going to be really exciting. we're just going through what's there. I mean, we could talk for a whole week easily. Some people might get bored after it. I'm sure Justin and Seb wouldn't, but we're doing our best to bring you what is hot right now. So just while we're doing that, I've got a couple of polls just for a bit of entertainment. So I'm going to launch a poll. There's two of them here. Right, first one, not too hard. Actually, maybe I'm just going to edit this. Just one quick question here. Oh, no, I won't. I was going to put in, hang on. Right, I think I've launched it. Can you see that? Which marketplaces are you selling in? It'd just be good to get a sense of where people are at. So multiple choice. So you can do multiple there. Just keen to see if there's a bit of a trend there. Who else? Hey, Robin, welcome. Let's come in as well. All right, so just tag the ones you're in. I was going to put one there that should have been not yet selling on any Amazon marketplaces, but I didn't do that anyway. So here we go. All right, so we'll go with that for a start. And because we'll move through this here, I'll share the results. You can see what we've got there. We've got a good number of people in the US and Canada, UK, a few in Germany and Europe, Australia, Japan even. So that's good. That's David being one of those, maybe Dan. All right, so we got that one there. And then let me, just out of interest here, what Amazon advertising types are you using? So I'll launch this one now. And just kind of curious to see just where people are at. Like if you're using advertising, you're definitely using sponsored products, probably sponsored brands if you've got your brand registry, and the same with sponsored display. And then DSP, kind of curious on the DSP front there as well. So all right, I'll give that a few seconds. And so just while we are waiting on that, just see a quick answer in there. It's anonymous, if that's the right word. That's the right word, isn't it? Yeah. A couple more. If you're not, no problems there. So we'll keep it moving. Yeah, so here we go. We'll share the results here. Sponsored products, sponsored brands, and just one there in DSP at the moment. So that's all good. We're going to touch on all of these today. All right. Okay, so let's crack into it. Now, today we've got, we have got slides, and there is a bit that we're going to move through. Like this is one of those areas where for you, you're going to have probably a bunch of questions, okay? And so what we'll do, as we go, put questions into the Q&A. You'll see down the bottom, there's chat and then there's Q&A. If you put it into Q&A, then that we can kind of keep that a bit more organized. We don't lose it in the chat thread. So if you could pop it into there, because as we go through, like say if Seb's talking, then Justin could answer it or vice versa. Okay, so do that. But also at the end, if you want to hang around, we'll hang around for as long as it takes, 15, 20, even 30 minutes if you want to just answer any questions. We'll turn the record off and just you can ask away as well. So Yeah, so as we go through, if something's not clear, just put in there, oh, that's not quite making sense for me, could you clarify? Like, feel free to do that, because it is a more complex task, so no such thing as a silly question. Is that all right? So just put into the chat there, just go, yep, ready to roll, Hamish, let's get into it. Into the chat there, that'd be good. See if people are here, awake. Just in here. Everyone, cool, ready to go? You see it? All right, let's crack into it. Yeah, just thinking it feels like it's been a couple of months since I've done one of these. What am I doing here? No, that's funny. Share screen. Right, let's get slideshow up. Is that working? You can see that? Justin, Seth, yep.
Yep. It looks like the chat's disabled, Hamish. Just a few people have mentioned the chat's disabled.
That's interesting, isn't it? Oh, well, what about the Q&A? If that's the case, it appears chat is disabled. Hey, Susie, if you're on, could you go into the back end of Zoom and just update that? That's a bit of a random one there. Never had that happen, actually. Don't know if we changed any settings, but that would be good. Otherwise, yeah. So apologies about that, random. Anyway, so let's, I'll see if there's something I can fix in here as we go. Anyway, so here's what we're gonna look at today. What's changed with Amazon advertising? What's working now? Because there has been a lot of changes, and so what's working, and then what is next as well. So today we've got Seb and Justin. So in the emails I've sent, gave a bit of background. So Justin and Seb, they're working with up to, Jesus, now it's like between 30 and 40 different seller accounts each month, and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend each month. So working in a couple of different systems. So they've got amazing perspective, right, which they're going to be sharing today. So that is that's the short version here. And as we go through, you'll see that Seb and Justin really know what they're talking about there as well. So looking forward to having them there, give you useful tips and tactics. As I said, it's conversation, so ask those questions if it's not clear, and we'll have Q&A at the end as well. So why is Amazon advertising so important for your success on the platform? And look, number one, it's the fastest way to get onto page one when you launch. So that's, the faster you do that, the better your ranking is, and you demonstrate to Amazon that, hey, we're here to play. And so that's so important. It helps you index and rank for key search terms for your product. And this is ultimately, you want organic, but to get that organic, to earn that organic, you've got to pay. And so this is how you get it happening. And it leads to predictable success on Amazon. If you're just organic, you're really leaving it up to chance, and it's just going to take a long time. So this starts to bring predictability, even though things are dynamic. In terms of competition, for example, other times of year and seasons, etc. But it does bring a predictability to what you're doing. And look, you can both protect your brand presence in terms of like strategies there with advertising. If people are typing your brand, that you show up, but also it's a great way when you're starting out to build brand awareness. And even I was talking to a company yesterday, Honey Sticks, who I know a lot of you have probably heard of as well. And so they are now through tons of retail chains and brick and mortar in the States because they're on Amazon and were successful on Amazon. They're in Walmart and all these big toy stores as well. And so it is like a great way to build that brand awareness. And look, hands down, I think there's been a lot of changes when you look at Google and Facebook, and Amazon is charging ahead and really catching up big time with Facebook and Google when it comes to paid search specifically for physical products, right? So that is just the data that is there is immense, and it's only Amazon's advertising options are only improving and increasing. We'll share some of what is happening today as well. All right, but the challenge can be is that there's a lot of competition. So I was reading before this year, last year, 472 new sellers signed up on Amazon, How many of them are active, I don't know, well, off that lot, but there is 1.1 million active sellers. And so the competition is getting tough, and it's driving up the click cost across the board. And particularly in the last 2 years with COVID and a lot of brands selling on the platform, the costs have gone up in the vicinity of around 17%. There's constant changes to the advertising console because they've invested massively in it, and they keep keeping up with these changes actually can be hard if you're not in there doing this every day. And the advertising types related to that above point, the bids and the budgets, and managing this is getting more complex just with all this data, and particularly if you've got a larger SKU count, it's getting tough to manage it all. And then ultimately the challenge is like finding the right strategy to scale profitably for your brand, category and phase that you're on Amazon, whether you're launching or you're more mature on the platform. So these are some of the challenges here, and we're going to help you with these today. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to, I'll stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to hand over to Justin. Stop sharing, please. There we go. So Justin is going to talk about what's changed. But first, just as a refresher, and for some of you, you may not be aware of what the actual ad placements are. So he's going to have a look. He's going to show you with examples on Amazon of the different ad types, so that you can. So we've got some context for the rest of the session as well, what we're going to go through. So Justin, if you could share your screen, that'll be great.
Cool. There we go. All right. So just as a refresher, there's basically 3 particular ad types on the native platform. So you've got sponsored brand, sponsored products, and sponsored display. So if you type in a keyword, so I've just got yoga mat here. Up here is a sponsored brand headline search ad. So you see they've got their logo, a little bit of a headline there, and they're showcasing 3 of their products. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that the first 4 results here are now sponsored. These are sponsored product placements. About a year ago, these used to be organic, but Amazon's being a bit cheeky now, and they're making these paid placements. These next 4 are actually organic placements on the page. And you'll see some various things that Amazon's always experimenting with different placements and different things. So here you've got a editorial recommendation section. You've got an Amazon's choice section at the moment. And around about halfway down the page is usually when you see a video. In this particular instance, I've searched for that term, but it hasn't put a video up, but it's put related videos up. So they're always experimenting with different placements for these. And sometimes it also shows the video right down the bottom of the page, which it has in this case. So normally that would be middle of the page, but now it's at the bottom. If I go into a listing itself, you've got 2 sponsored display placements here, one directly below the bullet points and one directly below the buy box. And just down here, you've got another couple of carousels with sponsored products. Now, in terms of ad inventory, the majority of the placements are on the detail pages. There's just so many opportunities there for Amazon to try and steal customers across to a different product, a similar product. So you've got to keep them on there as much as you can. Product videos also show up here. And then you got another carousel of sponsored products. And just below the reviews here, you've got a 3rd placement for sponsored display. And sometimes just below the Q&A here, you'll see another sponsored display section, which is specifically for DSP. And that's the basic ones at the moment. So I'll just stop sharing and we'll go back to the slides.
All right, that'll be me going back to the slides. All right. So okay. All right.
Yep. So here's some of the new things we've been treated to over the last year, I guess. This is relatively new. So when we're setting up a keyword campaign for like sponsored products, there's a little box there which allows you to sort by orders or sort by clicks. So this is looking at the historical data that Amazon's got, and it can show you, which of these particular keywords that you could target has historically generated a lot of clicks or a lot of orders, depending on your strategy. So you might be going for lots of orders, or you might be going for visibility. So you just want to get more people to your listing. So you might actually set up a different campaign where you're targeting clicks in that instance.
Historically, you probably had to do that in spreadsheets, right? But now in the console, you can navigate around better.
Yeah. So usually be from third-party tools that you might be able to get a little bit more from. Yep. In this instance, this is for product targeting. So for sponsored products again. Now, normally we would come out with a curated list of, exact ASINs that we would like to target of the competitors. In this instance, I guess there's really two ways of doing it. You could either come out with that really tight list of exact ASINs. Another way of doing it, you might be able to go after the whole category. But the category targeting can be a little bit loose, and you might actually see a fair bit of wasted ad spend depending on what's going on there. So a happy medium is Amazon's allowed what they call an expanded filter. So you sort of feed in that list of targets, and it will look at closely related ones to the ones that you've provided. So it's just expanding your reach on that product targeting a little bit, but not going too wide that you're targeting the entire category.
Yeah, that's a, as you say, good happy medium. So, because you might know who your competition is, like you clearly know, and so you pick them, but then it's going to pick others like them, but not go too broad for you. So
yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay.
You might not see this on your account yet, though. I've noticed that this shows up on some of our accounts, but not others. So they're obviously rolling it out quite slowly. But next couple of months, it should be everywhere, I'd say.
And just to check, do you need to change anything in your user settings for that, or it just pops up?
No, it just pops up. You either will have that little expanded checkbox there, or you won't. So,
Cool. All right.
This one is for sponsored display. So what we've noticed is recently Amazon's been moving some of the features that you would only find in DSP onto the native platform. So in this instance, you can look at audiences. So normally for the audiences, you would only be able to do retargeting for people that have visited your listing. In this instance, you can now look at interests. You can sort people by whether they're in market, or you could look at life events, for example, whether they got birthdays or they're looking for gifts, or they're getting married, so all those sorts of things. So in this little example on the right hand side, I've just typed in yoga, and it's given me some examples there for people that are looking for yoga equipment, or they've got a lifestyle interest of yoga enthusiasts, or they're in a market for yoga clothing or yoga blocks or yoga mats, etc. So it just allows you to have more flexibility and more focused targeting on people that are actually interested in the product you're selling. Which is great. So
it's kind of like the third option, right? You've got the specific search terms that people are typing in to find a product. Then you've got the second one is around, hey, I'm going to target that particular ASIN there, and then now I'm targeting this audience, and so it's a little bit higher up the funnel, as it were. But it's a good way to start building out or expanding who's going to see your ads. So,
yeah, that's right. Just expand the reach. Yep.
Okay.
Again, this is for sponsored display. Amazon never really told us, but I believe that the initial way that this used to work is optimizing these particular campaigns for page visits. And it wasn't until, maybe a year ago that they allowed us to jump into the ad group, and you have to manually change. I don't want to optimize for page visits. I want to optimize for conversions. So it's going after people that'll actually buy rather than more of a visibility or brand awareness play. But now they're actually allowing us even a third option there for optimizing for optimal reach, because this is another thing they've bought from the DSP, because on the native platform, you've got everything based on a CPC, a cost per click. Whereas if you're optimizing for reach, this is what they call a VCPM campaign, or viewable impressions. So you're paying per 1,000 impressions, which is the DSP model. So yeah, just another way of doing things, but at least they're now allowing us to choose this at the time that you launch the campaign, rather than having to launch them all and then sort of double handle everything by going in there and having to change it manually in the ad group. So it's great that they got this on the front end now.
Yeah. And so, and again, that, depending on where you are, if you're launching, might be different to if you're just looking to optimize and you want to make sure it's getting in front of those that are going to buy. So
absolutely. Yep.
Okay, cool.
This one here is, again, from another option from DSP, where you would normally only be able to set up a display ad where it would just fetch the hero image from the main listing, and that was the only thing that you'd be able to customize on it. Now they're allowing some of the things which we can't have in DSP. So if you wanted to add a logo, like the Traeger has added a logo for the one, they got an example here. They've not customized the image, so it is pulling the main image from their listing. And then they have added a headline there. So it says, taste the wood-fired difference. So essentially you can set up multiple versions of this particular display ad and split test and see which one's actually converting the best. Do people see your brand and notice that and buy more on that one compared to not showing the logo, for example? So yeah, more flexibility there.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And right, we're still going here. Good.
Yep. And this is probably the newest thing we've seen. We're still doing some testing on this, but this is contextual targeting. So again, it's just expanding the reach usually, but it's to set this up, you've got to actually go in and set up a contextual targeting campaign. So you've got a checkbox there. And then when you go into the categories, instead of targeting a whole category, you actually just choose that dynamic segments, which will show up right at the top of the list. And this will, show the ad for people that are looking for similar products to what you're advertising again. So it's a little bit more, it's similar to the previous example where, you're trying to keep the targeting a little bit more focused on similar products to yours rather than going very wide on the category. Yeah.
And that all ties into where we transition to next. So we've got one more thing here.
One more, yep. So the video campaign that we saw before, when I typed in yoga mat, you had it usually middle of the page, but it was down the bottom of the page. You can actually do video targeting based on products. So you can actually enter ASINs, and it's not clear as to exactly where they're going to show up. Sometimes I've seen it show up on the actual detail page, but it can be other like keywords that the product particularly ranks on, for example. But essentially you can sort of target your competitors now with the videos that you're running. So they're just, Amazon is very much still, experimenting with the placements as to that. So it could show up in a number of different places. Yeah.
So it's an interesting point there, Justin, and around this there's been a bit of a theme here of able to target closer to like-for-like competitors, okay? And so one is on the proactive front, on the conquest front, you can go after your competitors, but there's also an aspect where your competitors could be coming after you. So you can also have a defense strategy as well with these new changes, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially for sponsored display, for example, so if you've got multiple ASINs, you could actually just target your own and actually take up those ad positions so that your competitors aren't showing up in those ones. That'll push them out, and it might be running at a slightly higher ACoS between people jumping between your own listings, but it's a good defensive strategy. Absolutely.
Yeah. And also with some of that display, given you can change the image and the headline, you can actually be doing things like saying subscribe and save, hook, or hey, it goes well with this product, so you can look at cross-selling as well. So there's other good options there. Brilliant. Okay, so what do people think so far? Has that been useful, or what's most interesting out of there? If you can do the if chat is working for you, just can anyone put something to the chat? Because if it is going, in case I did something there to can panelists chat with. I may have randomly changed some setting. It seems like chat is a no-go. Okay, oh well, put something into Q&A. Just to go what's working, well, what was most interesting there for you? Just pop that into the Q&A. That'd be good. Excellent. Unfortunately, the only thing with that is I don't think people can see it right. Anyway, let's move on then. So, okay, Seb, one of the, I guess one of the things that Justin was starting to touch on there is like how you can tighten up your targeting, which links to avoiding wasted ad spend. No one likes wasting money. So let's have a bit of a talk about that. So Seb, over to you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I think, what Justin was talking about is really good. It's kind of a really good combination from where we're going to go next. And that is, obviously all these different ad types and things like that are going to take extra spend and things like that. And so one of the best ways that, you can grow the account is to focus on, what you're already spending, what you're wasting, fix that, and then use that spend in more efficient ways and better, targeting options like what Justin was just talking about. So first slide here that we're talking about, I'm just going to get into what negative matching actually is. And we'll discuss that about what it is first, and then we can go into those steps of, what you should be on the lookout for. So, so negative matching basically is a way to say to Amazon's ad console that I don't want to show up for specific search terms that people search for. This can be useful in a lot of ways because what it will do is it would eliminate things that are going to be irrelevant terms for the products that you're selling. So it could be things that are totally irrelevant. Being in this game for long enough, you kind of see some things that are fairly wild that come through. You might be selling a dog vitamin and you see a dog collar come through as a search term that people are searching. So this person that's searching for a dog collar is clearly not going to be the same kind of person that's going to be wanting to buy a dog vitamin, as an example of a product. So the slide we've got in front of us here is there's two different types of match types that we use to negative out. One is a phrase match and the other one is exact match. I've used the term here junior running shoes as the example in both the images here. And then just below that in the green bars, it's showing where running shoes, where phrase match would not eliminate a keyword. So you can see the running shoes part in the top two on the left. It's highlighting the areas where running shoes is showing up, but it's not the complete match of the junior running shoes, which is why your ad would still show up on those two search terms that are in green. Your ad would not show up on the two below that are in red because we've negative phrased junior running shoes. We would actually remove Nike junior running shoes and we'd remove junior running shoes blue, if someone was to put that in. So that's how negative phrase match works. And you can get even more, general with that. Like that's a fairly long sort of negative phrase, but you could, for instance, an example, you could negative phrase, if your shoes are not for kids, for instance, you could negative phrase the word children or child or kids or, all of those different terms, and you would get anything with the word kids, child, children, whatever would be negative out. And what that helps you do is over time, as you keep analyzing your accounts and keep doing these negative phrasing and negative exacting, you clean up your accounts and your accounts become more efficient with the spend that they use. The spend goes towards more profitable targets and more relevant targets, which generally are more profitable targets. And so, that helps your account improve. So on the right, it's the exact same example. It's just that we're using exact match, negative exact match. So you've got junior running shoes. In that example, you would show if you did negative exact match of junior running shoes, you're not going to show up for junior running shoes. Someone's corrected my misspelling there.
Correct. Was that a deliberate misspell?
That was a deliberate misspelling. So there was a misspelling there. Hamish has fixed up my misspelling, but negative exact match in junior running shoes will get rid of junior running shoes. You can see in the red there was a misspelling. It'll also get rid of the misspellings because Amazon will correct misspellings. So it will get rid of those ones in red. Then the one in green that's above that's Nike junior running shoes, your ad would still show for that because it's not, you've got the Nike part that's in front of it. So think about phrase as containing the word and exact as it must have all of those words in it. is kind of the best way to think of those two terms. So going to the next slide, what we're going to get into now is just some of like the metrics that you should think about when you're wanting to deploy something like negative exacting or negative phrasing. So, this section's called the top 3 ways brands are wasting their money, wasting their ad spend, and the fastest way that you can waste your spend is by bidding on terms that just not going to convert for you. So the solution for that we've got here is that negative matching, which I've just explained. These are some of the things that you should look out for. A low click-through rate with a non-converting, okay? So on the far left there, it's 2,500 impressions. If you have a click-through rate of below 0.18%, that's a very low click-through rate, and you've got no conversions. That is something that you probably want to consider as doing as a negative exact or a negative phrase. Because the other part of that particular equation is that click-through rate, Amazon factor that into their organic rankings. So if you are bidding on things and you're getting a low click-through rate, it actually is affecting your organic rank. So the more that you bid on them and the more that Amazon sees that people don't click on you, the less that Amazon is going to give you priority placements. And as we know, Amazon is a bid-based platform, meaning it's an auction. So whoever has the highest bid technically should get the placement. But it's not just the only metric that Amazon use. They also use this click-through rate. So with a click-through rate, if you had the same bid as your competitor, but your click-through rate was lower, Amazon is going to pick the competitor with the higher click-through rate and show their ad above your ad. So that's why click-through rate is important. The one on the right is high spend, non-converting rules. This one's pretty straightforward. You're spending money on search terms that are just not converting. Once you get to $35 in spend, you're at a really low conversion rate when you're at $35 in spend. So same kind of principle with the click-through rate. You need high conversion rates for your ads to show, or higher conversion rates for your ads to show. It's not across the board that you would want to do this. You'd need to consider things like the strategic nature of the keyword. Like if it's a really, really important keyword, like, if you're selling dog vitamins and, or running shoes, and it was like the term running shoes would be very competitive, but you were like, I am a running shoe, I want to be on that keyword. I'm willing to pay more, even though, my conversion rate and things are lower on those particular keywords. So, and then the last one there is, okay, it looks like it's just a duplicate. That's fine. So you can move on to the next slide there. Hamish, I've kind of gone over this already. This here is the top 3 ways. This is just that low click-through rate with non-converters, the high spend non-converters. So just one thing there with the high spend non-converters that I've mentioned here is, depending on your profit margins and budgets and the strategic nature, I kind of did touch on that. So that's fine. You can move on from that one. And then the high click non-converters. So with the high click non-converters, the search terms with over 34 clicks will give you a conversion rate under 9.8%. Considering Amazon's average is 9.8, I would recommend, killing these search terms, unless the niche you're in has other factors to consider, such as like subscribe and save or subscription options. So Amazon's average conversion rate is 9.8. Niche by niche, it's going to be very different, but it does give you a benchmark to know, like, where should your conversion rate sit? If that's the average, you really want to try and be above that. There are niches that, as I mentioned with the subscribe and save and stuff like that, they do go lower because they get more lifetime value out of a customer on the subscribe and save and subscription stuff. So you can go to the next one. So the next way that brands waste their ad spend is by targeting the wrong targets. This is normally happens predominantly at launch, but can happen, during the process of optimizing a product as well. So when we say wrong targets, what we're talking about is just not relevant targets, targeting things that are not relevant or too generic. Kind of to Justin's point earlier, targeting things that are too generic and not focused, or focused in on what it is that your product is. So the sort of remedy to that is to just make sure you're doing really good product research. You want to go really wide with your competitors so that you're capturing everything that's possibly out there, and then go tight on your keyword targets so that, you've got all of the keyword targets now. You can see everything that's there, and then really narrow it in, on the keyword targets. Now, this will be dependent on like where you're at. Like if if you're really wanting to push a product and grow it, you're going to be broader with those keyword targets. If you're really focused on profit and you're just like, I just want to be profitable at this point now, I'm not really looking to grow. Actually, if anything, I'm pulling back spend and not looking to grow. You're gonna refine that. Targeting structure. So just a tip there that I had was start with keywords that have a keyword count of 2 or more if you're in a very competitive niche. And that's just because the broad nature of single keyword counts. And what I mean by count is like, if I was doing running shoes, I wouldn't want to target just shoes, because shoes is going to be super broad. It's going to have high heels in there, all different types of targets. Whereas running shoes, that's niching it down a fair bit more. It's like, well, I'm not going to have high heels in there. I'm not going to have all the different types of shoes. So the next one is the match type so the match type, prioritizing match types that have better control. So think exact and phrase, less broad and auto. This is the same kind of thing. It's just about funneling your spend into those more specific targets that are going to generate the better margins for you. And then, you can layer in the other things later, slowly over time to help grow the account as it goes on. So I think that's it for that one. The next one that we're going to talk about is number 3, which is search term isolation. I put this slide in here to kind of give you a visual idea of what search term isolation looks like. So with everything that we've kind of just been saying, we're kind of just building up here. Search term isolation is the idea of starting on the far left there where you've got auto and moving to the research that's in the middle and then moving to the performance that's on the right, is that auto campaigns and research campaigns are going to be broad in nature. And going to find targets that are, that are kind of what it says, research, right? They're going to be finding stuff that it's like, well, maybe you didn't know that was a term that you could convert on. So you've done a phrase or a broad of a particular match type of a particular target, and it's gone out and found all these keywords. You're negative matching out anything that you don't think is relevant. So what's left is these really good search terms that are potential winners for you. Once you've figured out what these potential winners are, you move them into a performance campaign, which is the far right on this diagram. So when you move it into the far right, in order to stop you from bidding on the same targets from different campaigns, right? Because if you have it in one campaign over here and one campaign over here, let's use the example of running shoes. If I have a phrase campaign, a phrase target running shoes in one campaign and a exact target of running shoes in another campaign, we can bid on running shoes. Both of those can bid. So what you're essentially doing there is actually pushing your own bid up, not your competitors. You're actually being your own competition. So what we do to avoid that is we negative out our terms from the step before. So you can kind of see in the red diagram on the bottom, we're negative phrasing our research out of our auto, then we're negative exacting our performance targets that we've deemed as really good profitable targets out of our research campaign. And by doing that, we're stopping from all of these bids coming from all these different locations bidding on the same targets. And then we can focus in on the bid and the budget just on our exact terms. So it's kind of this loop, right? You can kind of see here, it's like auto exact, ones that perform in the auto go to the performance. The autos, we do a broad to the research, and then we negative phrase out of the auto, and it goes in this flow. I know there's a lot of different match types there, so it can get a bit confusing, but think of it of just like, this granular refining of a funnel down to like the most exact type of what that keyword is. So we might start out with running shoes for males that are 50 years old, and we end up in the exact as running shoes, as an example.
Yeah, good.
So,
okay.
I don't know if anyone's got any questions on that one, because that one can be a little bit tricky
Yeah.
to understand. If they do, just shout out.
I think we need to, so this is really just saying what you've done there, and I think we'll need to keep on charging through. But that's great. That's great, Seb. Hopefully people, this here helps people get a mental model of what you're really looking to do in terms of the efficiency, right? That's how you stop wasting. That's how you stop wasting money. And Ranmit, we are recording this as well, so we have a recording for people to come back to. All right, so there's an interesting time. So around DSP or demand side platform, okay, now you've got your in the advertising console, you've got sponsored product, sponsored brand, sponsored display. External to that is the DSP, and this is like a massive engine there that has all this audience data and a whole lot of other things we're going to share. So it is a separate piece, and it's a bit harder to actually get on. Well, you need to go through an agency really to make it happen. So Justin's going to explain it, because this is what he's working with on a number of our clients in Australia and also in the US, and it can often come about if you're hitting a ceiling in Amazon results. So Justin, I'll kind of smash these ones out here, and then you talk to them.
Yeah, so
at the time.
Certainly the last couple of years we've seen, especially with COVID, really, you've seen increased cost per click across a lot of categories, and that's probably not going to get any better anytime soon. But also this DSP is great for brands where you see that there's a point of diminishing returns on the platform, where you start to push a little bit too hard and you're just not seeing an increase in profit. So you sort of max things out there. So at that point in time, you need to start looking further afield to bring customers in from other places and bring them over to the listing. And of course, the last couple of years, we've seen changes from like Firefox, Safari, Apple as well have been phasing out, Google as well, where they've been phasing out like cookies and putting a focus on privacy and tracking and stuff like that. So, I think that's great for the customer, but it's bad for marketers. So it just makes our life a little bit more difficult trying to get traffic to the platform to get people to buy. So with DSP though, it's sort of what we describe as like a walled garden, where Amazon's got their own ecosystem and they've still got the attribution of the sales in there, which is still working. Whereas, with things like Facebook ads and Google ads, it's becoming a little bit less reliable in terms of the tracking what's working. So, and we've certainly seen that, less visibility as to what's going on there, which makes it difficult to, support that spend on those external platforms. So that is why we're really focusing on this first party data to produce results. Yeah.
Ready to shift? Cool.
Yep. Cool. So DSP really suits brands which they're already well established on Amazon and they've got a good history of sales to build effective audiences. And it's ideal when you are starting to get those diminishing returns on the native platform. It's great to go to the next level when you're sort of prepared to invest a little bit more to actually increase the scale. And we have a little funnel here which we can show you, which this is basic.
And a good average cart size as well.
Oh yeah, good average cart size, and lifetime value of the customer is very important as well. So this is the sort of top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel that we're looking at here. So in terms of the low hanging fruit, I guess you look at the bottom of the funnel for that, where people that have already purchased, you want them to come back and buy again. It's quite easy to do that once you got a loyal customer, but we can sort of go as high in the funnel as we need to. So you could look at some of the lifestyle and in-market targeting, which was similar to what I was talking about previously on the platform now, where you've got some of those options with the sponsored display ads. And then you can do competitive conquesting within DSP as well. So you can show up even more places on your competition's ASINs as well. You can actually put a pixel on your website and do retargeting as well, and actually track the customer journey, which is very important. We can actually, even though you might only be advertising a handful of your own products through DSP, we can actually load all of your products into the DSP and it will give us visibility of those attribution as well. So you might be targeting someone on one of your ASINs with the DSP, but once they come in, they might buy an additional one or some of your other products, and we can actually attribute the sales to the DSP from those ads as well. So this is a great way to expand your audience on platform and off platform. So you can run more ads on the native platform, and you can look at third-party networks, which will reach out and like IMDb and Twitch and a heap of other third-party platforms as well to bring even more users to even more customers to your listing.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, so it is it's really the next level, and the complexity and the audience options is pretty phenomenal. And it is, yeah, so yeah, just to reiterate what Justin said, like this here is, you know, on Amazon. So for example, if people are in garden and outdoors, it's going to show when people are, if you've got a barbecue, it might show when people are looking at outdoor furniture, for example. So you're kind of starting to build that, but then also if people are on looking at the weather, and then ads can show up on that side as well, or if they're looking at the sport news, whatever is relevant for your target, they will show up there as well. Yep. So, and we'll kind of move through these relatively quickly here as well.
So just reasons why it makes sense to scale. So you got a much larger access to larger audiences. You'll probably run out of money before you run out of audience. It's that big. Scalability. So there's various campaigns, the way we can set things up. So you might be looking at the low-hanging fruit, retargeting past customers on various platforms, on and off. You can build brand awareness campaigns where you might be looking to just get new customers on as well. You do have the full robust attribution as to when customers, because it'll be last touches normally the way we describe it. So someone might, you know, click on your ad on the platform, go to some of your organic listings on the platform, but then you can see that, you know, if they click on one of the ads which is off the platform, that's the one which will get attributed to the sale. You can re-engage your past customers, so you can retarget them, and there's various windows for that, like 7-day, last 30 days, last 60 days, last 90 days. And because you need to go through an agency to get access to this, you've got a competitive edge over your competitors, because a lot of them won't be running that. So there's a barrier to entry for this particular thing as well. Yeah.
One just very quick comment from a, you know, we mentioned lifetime value. Like, it's important to do the maths first on this before starting, because the ROAS on this here is typically 2 is the average. So you've got to ensure that you've got a lifetime value, and there's a method for doing that with a look back over the last 2 years of your data that we can access, to then go, well, actually it's worthwhile investing this because we know we've got that lifetime value there to make money, and know if we put $1 in, we're going to get 2, 3, 4 out, 5 out, whatever it might be with lifetime value. And so there is and then there's a big bonus, right, isn't there, with DSP, because we're working closely with Amazon Advertising and around their Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is in beta. It's currently, well, by us, it's currently free. It will be paid at some point, but without getting too technical on it, Justin, do you want to kind of do your best in 30 seconds to explain it?
What this basically means is that Amazon's sort of given us access to the raw data tables at the back end, so we can run queries to pull out extra information. So this is marrying up what's going on your native platform and what's going on the DSP platform, and we can run queries on the information on both of those databases to match up what's going on. So you can, it gives us extra information which you currently don't have access to. So it's quite powerful. So if you go to the next slide, actually, we've got some a little bit of a run through there.
And just also on here though, but it's like a data clean room where you can also be adding your advertiser own data sets as well. So the information you got there, which helps build better audiences, and you can see the whole attribution path. For example, from first touch, like what was it that first got them into your looking at your brand, and also the last touch and what they did along the way. So there, from a from these sort of points here, I know there's a lot of text here, but Justin, you're just kind of on the 6-7 bullet points there.
Yeah, so just that top section is probably the best bit. Like, Amazon Marketing Cloud provides the opportunity to understand which ads your customers see or engage with their path to conversion. With a better understanding of what's driving the customers to convert, you have a massive opportunity to turn these insights into actionable and optimize your investment, and to maximize the sales and efficiency. So there's a number of different ways which we can use this information. So we can do a deep dive on each of the particular campaigns and looking at various things. We can look at the audience that you're targeting with those display ads as well, and have a look at the correlation between the engagement and which ones are actually making this, doing the most buying basically. And we can feed that information back into what we're targeting to have a look at increase the efficiency. We can look at the analysis of the journey, or which of the ads were viewed, where were they viewed, how often were they presented, when were they shown. So we've got all that access to all of that information as well. And then you can, the bottom one there is a really good point. So custom attribution. So there's various touch points that we can pull out of the database. So we could look at the time to conversion from when they clicked an ad to when they actually purchased. We can look at first touch. So what was the first ad they saw in the journey? What was the last ad they saw in the journey? And there's even like a linear one where we can actually weight both of those the same and actually look at the whole thing quite evenly. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use this data to pull out some extra insights to feed that back into what we're doing on both platforms to increase the efficiency. So it's very, very interesting stuff. And, we're quite privileged, I think, to have access to this so early on. It's really, really interesting stuff. Yeah,
it's really next level, and particularly with a lot of the challenges coming up with the pixel, pixel tracking. It's with this walled garden and your ability to bring information in off your own. It's a massive thing, and it's kind of where the puck is going in the Wayne Gretzky quote.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll need to keep on moving. But thanks, Justin. There. So Seb, we'll crank through these ones here. So let's riff into it.
Yep, I'll be quick. So if at this point you can understand that Amazon is very complex with all of those different advertising types, how to manage all of this data is kind of like this touching point that we're doing on. And I'm just gonna be really quick. And basically it's just like, you've got to have a system and a process for managing the data. You need to be able to aggregate your data. Richer data allows us to move from opinions to decisions I've written in there, without bias. And that's what the whole idea is, right? We want to get all of this data, collect it, aggregate it, use it to make better informed decisions. So it's really important that you get the data reporting right. The next one is the AI software. So same thing about this complexity. No one that's running, massive accounts can do this by themselves manually. You do have to at some point move to AI software in order to help manage the complexity of the nature of the environment. The other thing that AI does provide is the ability to be working 24/7, 7 days a week, all the time. And so it's hard when you're manually running things to be able to compete against that. AI is going to be running when you're sleeping. And so I think the days of, managing manually are limited because of the advanced software and AI stuff that's coming through the pipeline.
Yeah. I think that's really the key message there. All right. So kind of linked to that then is we've got which metrics matter. So.
Yeah. So this is just a quick rundown of like, if you're, wanting to manage your own data, what metrics should you be paying attention to? So these are really the core of everything of your account. These are going to make up ACoS, TACoS, all of that. I'll get to what those definitions are in a second, but orders divided by clicks is going to be your conversion rate. Clicks divided by your impressions is going to be orders divided by your clicks is going to be your conversion rate. Clicks divided by your impressions, which is the one in the middle, is going to be your click-through rate. On the far right side, you've got spend divided by clicks, and that's going to be your cost per click. So the reason these are all important is because this is literally what's driving everything to your account. It's driving your orders, your sales, everything. Conversion's important. Okay, we can just move to the next one. I was just going to go over the other bits. So TACoS and
right, sorry.
So the next two are spend divided by ad sales, that's your ACoS, and spend divided by total sales, that's your TACoS. TACoS is super important because it's a profitability metric. It's going to tell you if what you're doing is working and making you profitable. It's super, super important. And ACoS is just going to tell you an advertising, just from the advertising piece, is your advertising doing what it should? So if you're monitoring both of those together, you can have a higher ACoS if your TACoS is going down. It's okay to do that. Basically what you're doing is you're spending more money on your advertising to get more organic ranking. And that's, if your TACoS is going down and your ACoS is going up, that's what that's telling you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
The last metric to mention is just budgets. So budgets is just a really easy way to win. This is just a screenshot from inside Seller Central, but it's like you should be making sure that your highest ROAS campaigns are not running out of budget. And really, that's as simple as that. It's the easiest wins that you can get.
So when you go inside of the console, you can add these columns in. So you might not have noticed that. So do that. And the idea here is, look, if you've got a high performing ROAS running out of budget, well, you want to put more budget to it in simple terms, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, that's like, you avoid the wastage and then you double down on what's working well. All right.
Yep. These ones, these are just I don't think we need to share these next three, to be honest, but these are just like the slides from our spotlight on some of the stuff that we look into when we do audits on accounts.
Yeah. So we've got ways of pulling data out and getting it into useful formats there, which does lead on to like how you can get a clear view of your advertising performance. And so we've got what we call internally here Amazon Advertising Spotlight, which is really going, what are the facts? What's actually happening? What do we need to fix? And then where's the focus going forward with what you've got? And so we've got a really, like, this is something that we're getting underway. And because of that, we're going to do some of these for free if you are interested. So what we're going to be looking at is what wasted spend you currently have within your PPC management and where to reallocate. How efficiently are you managing your budgets, and is your budget going to the high ROAS campaigns matched with high sales? Identify if you have high converting targets that should be isolated, like going back to that image that Seb had in terms of the green arrows and the red arrows, and the optimal distribution of match type targeting for your portfolio budgets and objectives. So this is pretty useful. So we're going to do five of these free. Look, if we get 6, we'll probably do 6. But what we'll cover is we'll cover one country, for example, like the USA. We do have one caveat here in terms of this really being useful. You need to really be spending at least $3,000 a month on the ads just to have enough data to have it be meaningful. Look, if you're not there and you're just going, man, I really do need help with this anyway, look, do obviously connect with us and we'll look at what we can do there in terms of where you're at, because obviously different countries are different. Like in Aussie, you might not be able to spend 3,000 in your category, for example. Here's what you're going to get. There'll be an initial 30-minute call, which is really understanding the objectives and context of where you're at and just organizing, accessing off the data. And then we'll take that away, and then we'll book another time, 5 business days later, to go over the results and the recommendations with you, and you can answer any questions that you've got. Okay, so pretty valuable. Like in the future, we will be doing this as a paid thing. We'll be adding in some additional components like lifetime value and cost per acquisition, which can help you in all manner of ways and other audience targeting. So if you are interested in this, book your place. We've got this link here. This is Seb's link. It'll probably be Justin and Seb, but just keeping it simple. Now, annoyingly, I don't know that I can put this into the chat. Well, do people see can they see the chat if I send it? If someone like Susan, could you put into the Q&A? I just put it into the chat. I'm not sure if it shows up though for everyone. Otherwise, just know it's Calendly. Okay, Pete, you can see there. Great. Yeah, Sebastian Hargraves, 30 minutes, 30 min there. Cool. All right. So that's what we're doing, right? So look, booking a time, and we'll get that underway, right? So why are we doing this for free? Well, look, it's something that we want to hone as a system, and the more we talk with companies, it's just been a lot. We've had a lot of great developments in the last few months, and as you can see with everything we've been going through, and so we're just really going, okay, how do we really make this as user friendly in terms of getting the actual use cases for you. And so we've got new reporting that we've done, and so it's kind of like we're doing test runs on this, you could say. It's going to be super valuable for you, but that's the opportunity there. So hopefully we'll look forward to Seb's calendar, having a few meetings in there for Seb and Justin. So okay, great. All right, now we are at the top of the hour, right at the top of the hour there. So what we can do is I'm going to stop sharing here, and then what we can do is I'll stop the recording. So thank you for watching if you're on the recording, and then we're going to have some Q&A now. So I'll stop the recording.